I have a guest with me for a few minutes here. And I asked Delaney to come on. Delaney attended my church at times. And yesterday, he shared, if you watched the church, you heard him share a story about what's happening with his 12-year-old son in the public school system here in Los Angeles. Delaney is in a battle to protect his 12-year-old son from being brainwashed in the public school system. And I also learned some things about what was happening at the public school in this area that I didn't even know about in Los Angeles. So Delaney is with us. Delaney, thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it.
Pleasure, Jesse. Happy to talk with you and hopefully glorify God with this story.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a 12-year-old son. At one time you were married. You and your wife divorced. Am I right?
Yeah. She divorced me a little while back.
Okay. And so you have custody rights to your children, I guess, visitation rights or whatever.
It's joint. Yeah, it's complicated.
Right.
But yeah, it's shared. Yep.
And so tell us about what's going on with you and your son right now in the public school system.
So he just started 7th grade at the end of August, and I had been kind of out of the loop the prior year because everything was online, right? And I was trying to get more invested, a little bit more interested in what was going on this current school year with the teachers. So when the school year started, the teachers usually send out little welcome emails. Hey, I'm teaching science. Hey, I'm teaching math, it's like that. And one of the teachers was for a elective class called drama class and theater class. And so I saw something in her email that I wasn't quite clear what she was talking about. So yeah. I took the time to look into it a little more. I had found a way to log in to the school website. It was a little bit of trouble, and found the syllabus for the class. And it turns out the drama class, which was not mentioned in the email, is called Decolonized Drama and Theater. So I said, wow, never heard of that. I didn't really didn't even know that word, right? Yeah. So I looked on the syllabus. So the syllabus says, what does that mean? Decolonize means reclaiming, reestablishing, and honoring the communities and people that colonization stopped in order for white supremacy to gain and remain in power. All right. The usual theater class centers on the stories of people born into whiteness and the majority experiences like straight, male, English speaking, etc. And then this class is a special way to look at and create and tell stories. So they lift up the voices of people sidelined, like LGBTQIA+, children, non-male, identifying, the list. Yeah. So that was kind of a little bit of a red flag, to say the least. I knew that some of the stuff had been going on at the college level for a long time, but we're talking 12-year-olds. This is a way to, it's just not age appropriate, that was like my first thought. And my second thought was, there's some things in here that's, it's not biblical. It's against my religious beliefs. So I wanted to bring that forward. Go ahead, Justin.
And so when you taught, was your son aware enough to share or tell you about some of these things that he was being taught in school before you discovered that?
No, this is right at the beginning of the year, right? So they really hadn't gotten into it in the class yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And he's not, he's not aware of this type of stuff. This is not stuff that kids this age should be even thinking about. And teachers are, getting to them because they know they don't have any knowledge yet. They want to be the first in to kind of like tell them how it is, that's my take. That's my take on it. So I reached out to mom, and she was, I shared the syllabus with her. She was like, oh, I have no concerns with this, and keep my name out of it. I told her I was, planning to talk to the school about it. So I was hoping to find out from the school if there was any alternative classes, for that time period that he could take instead. Because it was an elective class. It's not like math, it's right. Elective class. And he said he didn't even remember choosing it. They're supposed to let him choose these classes. So I went to the principal, I went to the teacher, and then the principal got looped in, assistant principal, the woman who wrote the curriculum, and I just asked, hey, listen, I'm not comfortable with this. Try to be real nice about it, real simple. Yeah, I thank them for getting the school year off the ground. I know it's a tough year. And she was real sweet. I tried to find out what the alternative classes were, and she ignored my question about the alternative classes. Just completely, I only asked one question in the email, and she completely ignored the question in the email and tried to connect me with the woman who wrote the curriculum. So she was basically trying to blow me off entirely. I emailed again. She did the exact same thing and sent me times. Here's when I can set up a meeting between you and the woman who wrote the curriculum. And ignoring my question about what the alternative classes were. So it was not going anywhere. And I decided to start showing up at the school because I didn't want my kid. The time was going on, like days were going by, right? Yeah. And he's in this class, and I don't want it happening. So I proposed some additional options to mom, and she just said, I will not do any of those options. I said, okay. So I started showing up at school on the day that he had that class. It's the last class of the day. So I just basically was doing an early checkout, just checking him out an hour early from class. And we're going to go do a little Bible study. I was going to tell him, a little bit more about my feelings about the situation. And so I did that once, and he was a little bit taken off guard. He didn't know what was going on. I hadn't talked to him about it yet. And, to fast forward, he ended up being kind of confused about this whole thing. He doesn't understand these issues at all. Yeah. I ended up continuing to go back to the school and showing up. And these schools, if you guys have ever been by, they're like minimum security prisons, right? They're huge fortresses, and you're not allowed on these campuses anymore. I mean, this is the new rules. You cannot go on an LAUSD campus. That's 600,000 kids whose parents cannot go on the campus, cannot see the teachers, cannot see the principals, cannot see their kids' classrooms, cannot see what's up on the walls in those classrooms, cannot set foot on those campuses. But it's for your own good, right? For your own safety.
I was shocked when you said that yesterday that in Los Angeles, the parents are not allowed on campus with their children at all. I don't. Zero. That was mind blowing to me. And that alone says that something is wrong. They're hiding something that they won't even let the parents enter the building. Yeah,
or the property anywhere. Right. Not like the outdoor thing. No, none of that. Zero. And I don't know. They didn't say that they're doing it to keep you away from what they're doing, but it feels like that. Yeah. It feels like that for sure. So I'm showing up. I'm doing the proper process of submitting the form. I'm going to check my kid out, early. And the second time I did it, they started giving me the runaround. I'm at this fortress. There's a little call box this big, and the office is like half a mile away. I can't even see it. Don't even know where it is. I'm there to check. I'm there to get my kid. He belongs to me, right? And I'm dialing on his call box, and they're not answering. Then they answer, oh, we'll be down in 5 minutes. They don't come down. They're telling me, oh, your son is not really comfortable. And I'm going, what is going on? They got my kid inside this prison. I can't get him out. And they're giving me the runaround. And then I'm calling on the regular phone to the office. They're not answering. This class is happening right now. I was supposed to have gotten him before the class happened. Right. They're just giving me the runaround. So it ends up, they were in touch with his mom. And so his mom shows up at the school, and make a long story short, that day, they basically checked him out to his mom, but not to me. So I keep coming back. I come back again the next week for the same thing. And in the middle, again, my son's confused. He doesn't know really what's going on. Teachers, I'm sure, principals telling him who knows what, right? Yeah. And mom telling him who knows what. And so the next time around, I go to check him out early, and I get there, and guess who's already there? Mom. Mom. So
what a mess.
Collaboration going on there. Yeah. And so same thing, they're not answering. Oh, you know what? Today you have to talk to Mr. So-and-so because your son's not comfortable. And Mr. So-and-so handles the situations when kids are not comfortable with certain things. So, well, you need to talk to Mr. So-and-so before we can check your son out to you. But guess what? Mr. So-and-so is busy right now. I'm standing out there at this fortress. I'm like, I can't see anything except this fence, Yeah. And guess who's there already? Mom, right? and mom's waiting. I'm assuming they're going to give him to mom, but all of a sudden I'm talking to them on the phone about Mr. So-and-so, and mom takes off. I'm like, what? No, this doesn't make any sense. So they told me where Mr. So-and-so is. I'm walking around the outside of the fortress, the prison, and I'm trying to find out where Mr. So-and-so is, going to some other entrance. And then finally I get around and I see him, and it's like, by this time the day's almost over. It's almost an hour by this time.
Yeah.
And they are starting to let the kids out of school, and I see my son walk out, and look at that. He gets in the car with mom on the other side of the school, like a mile away.
Wow.
And I had signed it to check him out, And so then the principal happens to be standing there at the gate, the woman who I had been in all the emails with.
Right.
And I was very, very calm, very collected, just, ask her, hey, I don't know if you know what's going on today, but I was here to check out my son. And she starts telling me about the protocols and about, she's not really saying I'm going to call Child Protective Services, but she basically says in these situations where the kids are uncomfortable, we have these options of calling both parents, calling all the parents, or calling Child Protective Services.
What a mess.
I'm going, interesting. So, I basically walked away from this, having obviously tried a few times. I'm up against LAUSD, the monster. They've got billions of dollars, lawyers. These schools, they've got us locked out. I can't get in. Mom is on their side. They're collaborating. It's all women, and they all speak in the same language, using the same type of vocabulary, doing the same thing of trying to just close me off. And, this is none of your business. You need to stay out of it. And I've been praying through this whole thing about how, God, I don't know how you're going to deliver me from this. This doesn't make any sense. Every person I know who I've talked to about this is saying, Delaney, you're crazy. You're going to lose your son. You're going to lose this battle. You got to back down and give it up, because this is not how this works. And that was a Friday when that last time happened. And then all of a sudden that Sunday night, mom sends an email to the principal, copying me in, saying, first of all, dad is being, controlling and threatening behavior. And he's being demanding, and I have no choice but to give in to his demands. Would you please, to the principal, would you please put my son into another class? And the principal, the next morning, first thing, like 8 o'clock on Monday morning, even though she had repeatedly refused me to have him be able to look at any other classes, she told me, no, it's not possible. It cannot be done. She gets email from his mom and immediately right away says, yes, you will be moved into another class effective tomorrow.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
This war on men, I'm telling you. And so did you, I may not be right on this, but I think you told me the principal is female, the vice principal is female, and there was someone else. The teacher's female.
Yeah, and the woman who wrote the curriculum, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how it is in the schools these days. And they will admit it. They're looking for male teachers because they don't have any. Men have been, for whatever reason, just, run out of the school system. There are, there's a couple at this school for sure. But, it's I've never seen a male principal since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he's my third kid, my 12-year-old. And my kids have been in public school for 15 plus years. And I've never seen male principal, but I don't know. I'm sure they're out there, but
that's amazing. When I was growing up, I never saw a female principal until I moved to LA. Why is it that his mother didn't care that these things was happening to him?
That's a good question, and I can't really comment on that because I don't know for sure, but she's his mom is also involved in education, so she's got a lot of different perspectives on things that there's probably in her mind there's maybe some conflict about protecting her job and her reputation within the education world, and she didn't want to get in the middle of it in some ways, even though it turns out she was involved behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So the lesson in all this so forth for you is what?
That's a good question, because for sure throughout most of it, the enemy was telling me that this is not going to work, trying to put fear in my heart, trying to tell me, don't go over to this school. You're going to get in some legal trouble. They're going to overwhelm you. There is no path, to make this work. And that, that voice, was there constantly, but something in me, the Spirit had just led me to stay strong through all of that, and to trust that God is going to prevail, and to put him first, and not even my relationship with my son, who I love dearly, and
Yeah.
I miss him, and I've been separated from him during all these lockdowns. That's a whole nother story, about my relationship with him, and how much he needs me, and knowing that I didn't want to damage the relationship with him, but that this was going to make things probably more complicated with him. And I told him that. I said during the middle of all this, I said, this is not easy. This is not fun. God is calling me toward this. And I told him the scriptures around why these things in the syllabus were against God, and that I felt that if this school is raising you up in ways that are against the Lord, I am called to raise you in his ways, and so I have to get involved in this. And I told him, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be probably difficult in some ways for you, and I'm sorry for that. But if I have to make that decision between you, my relationship with any other person in this world, versus doing what's right, I got to do what's right and what God wants.
Amazing.
And yeah.
Did he understand that by the end of this thing so far? Does he understand that you're protecting him?
That's a good question. And I think a lot of times with kids at this age, they have some understanding of certain things, but later on, this is going to be the kind of thing that I'm hopeful will guide him in his life in a big way, and that he can maybe see that example of, when Jesus was telling us that we have to be willing to walk away from everything we love if we want to follow him. He is in one direction and the world is in the other direction. And that includes every person we love, everything we love in our life, our job, our car. We have to be able to walk away from any of those things if we want to follow him. I mean, we read these things in the scriptures and we have lives that are so simple and easy.
Yeah.
We can't relate to it. This is the first time I've been tested on this level with an important person in my life, where not just like, oh, am I afraid to tell them I'm a Christian? Now, this is on a whole nother level. Am I willing to sacrifice part of my relationship with another person in order to do what God wants and to try to make the world the place that he wants it to be? It's a whole different level.
Well, I am grateful that you are protecting your son and fighting back, because a lot of men are afraid to even take a step like that, and they just let the kids suffer. They don't even try. I know it's difficult with the women taking over, and they can deceive you about the situation and everything, but we need men to start protecting the families again, to stop being afraid, because it's only get worse and not better if men don't step up.
Yeah, I agree.
Now that you've gone through this and you see what's really going on, and you haven't seen it all yet in the schools, will you now run for school board or principal or something?
Jesse, that's a whole nother step. I don't know if God has going to be putting me on that level, but God is definitely calling me into the battle in this area. And the next front of this battle is really the vaccine situation, the COVID shot situation, because there's deadlines coming up with LAUSD. My son does not have that shot. His mom has it. His mom wants him to get it. The school wants him to get it. The teachers want him to get it. I don't know if you know, the schools are now giving away, you probably heard the state was giving away lottery money, free money to people to get the shots. Now the schools, LAUSD is now giving away gifts to kids. They're giving away free tickets to Disneyland if you get the shot. Free gift card, Amazon gift cards, all kinds of things. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
What the?
Yeah, they're using our money and do this. It's crazy. So that's the next. I've been trying to connect with other kids, parents. They go to this school, go to USD schools, and that's part of why I wanted to tell the story, to try to get more connected, because it's difficult. They've got them all fortressed off now.
Yeah.
You can't get inside. You can't meet other parents. There's no PTA meetings. There's no room moms anymore. The only thing they offer, to parents is like, you want to connect with, here's like a Black affinity group. Here's a Latino affinity group. Here's a gay affinity group. Here's the white accountability group. That's the only way you can connect with other parents now. So it's really difficult. I'm trying to build that kind of coalition so that we can, put a little
Yeah,
bit of pressure, even as a minority. We're the minority, and I thought you're supposed to respect the minority, right?
that's right.
I'm
What's
trying
the
to.
what's the difference between affinity and accountability?
Well, yeah. So I don't know. I'm just learning about these groups, but the Black Affinity. I might even be not using the right words. I don't know, but the Black Affinity group I guess it's mainly for Black people. Same thing for the Latino one, and then the white one is white accountability. So I got on the email list for that one because I'm white. I figured, yeah, and
Might as
and what
well.
yeah, what they're doing is trying to hold each other accountable to be anti-racist. And so they just spend a lot of time sitting around talking about their feelings and how is it when you go to a certain type of location and everybody there is white? How do you feel when you go to another place and there's people who are not white? And they just spend all day talking about that and reading books about that. And
That's crazy.
yeah,
That's
it's just
insane.
it's just
It's amazing that adult human beings can act this way. Look like something would tell, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying?
well, admittedly, interestingly, I just saw the latest email on the white accountability group for my school where they mentioned, wow, there's no guys in this group. It's all women.
Yeah, yeah.
They mentioned in the email, how can we get more guys in this group? And I'm going, oh, wow, that's fascinating, isn't it?
It is, man. So you should join that group, and so you can have an impact for the good.
Yeah, I thought about it, but there's some groups where you just can't. You know what I mean? This different. It's a different language. I need to find other families who
Yeah,
are like-minded because the school, as I saw, with one person, they're going to try to do this, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right. And if you have a group, even a small group, maybe 5, 10 families, and you all have the same kind of opinion that you're trying to share about things that you want changed, that makes a lot of difference. Can make a lot of difference. So that's what I'm working on building right now. And I've found a few. So, God is providing that.
Is there a contact number or email or a website or something you want to give out in case? Because yesterday when some people heard your story on the church service about what you've gone through with your son, I got several people calling me about that. They were like, he's telling the truth, Jesse. I'm going through the same thing. I've gone through the same thing. So several people responded to that.
Yeah. If anybody responds to you on the show, your producer has my contact info, and I'm happy to get connected directly to people. There are groups out there that they're bigger. They're like California Parents United and different parents that are out there. They're all larger. And they're working on different things like, the vaccines and getting rid of masks in the schools and, all those type of things. Those are larger. I'm trying to build something more on a neighborhood level, on the community level for myself. That's what I'm trying to create some change in that manner. So if anybody is a parent of a, LAUSD kid, I live in town, not in the Valley, but in the LA side around where you're at, Jesse,
Yes.
Anybody who lives in LA who's got kids in public school, and they chime in, the producer can give my number, definitely.
Amazing. Well, some of that information yesterday was just shocking to me, especially blocking the parents out of the kids' life at school. It doesn't seem like anyone would sit around and come up with that kind of idea and try to implement that idea and not expect the parents to just go haywire. You know what I'm saying?
It is pretty amazing. You think about how big LAUSD is, how many schools they have. They're in charge of like 600,000 kids, and all of those kids are locked up every day, and they're locked up for 40 hours a week, and they're being taught we don't know what. One of the other parents that I've met recently, his kid is telling me that he's in a classroom with a teacher who's got all this stuff up along the walls about the defund the police. He's got that up on the walls in his classroom.
Amazing.
And I can tell you right now, if they were allowing us on that school campus, that would be down by now. That would be down. There is no doubt. If from me alone, that would be down by now.
Yeah.
So, we got to find a way, like you said, we got to find a way to break that, because there's no way that that's legal. It's already been, it's being challenged in court. There's people who are trying to do this in court, but the problem is that there's so much money behind LAUSD and their law firms, and they got the state of California behind them. They got all the money and power behind them. Who's on the other side of this battle? It's the average parent, and we have to try to pull together, and with God's strength we can do it. We just have to not be intimidated by the enemy and the voice that he wants us to hear of backing down and going away.
Right on, man. And we gotta get men to get back involved in the family life, in the school, the homes, everywhere, because if men don't get involved, this ain't gonna get worse and not better. There's no way around it.
Amen. No, that is the way God set the world up, and that's the way the world was for a long time. That's the way this country was for a long time. That's why the Constitution said all men are created equal. People say, why did they write it like that? Well, because men are supposed to be in charge.
That's right. One last thing, Delaney, are you concerned that they may start brainwashing your son to make him think he's a racist, white privilege? They would do that behind closed doors as well?
Well, that's part of the process that they're working on. The educational quality at this school, because my older kid went there 5 years ago, used to be very high. Yeah. Now my son is not being challenged. Unfortunately, I heard him in his recent report that he gives out every quarter to the parents. He writes down how he's feeling, what his experience is. He's not being challenged because they're spending so much time on all this other stuff around race and equality and these type of topics. They're trying to get those into every single class. I even heard in math class, recently they're trying to, create the math problems are around, global warming and environmentalism in math class. So it's going in every class. They're trying to inject these type of ideas and this type of politics instead of teaching the kids the basics of how, to read and write.
Amazing. Amazing story, Delaney. Thank you so much for taking the time out of such short notice to come and tell us about it, man.
My pleasure, Jesse.
And if we could be of any help, you know how to get Nick.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch on this, and I encourage people to rise up and us join together and make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Amen. You're welcome.
All right. I got to take a break, folks. Back in a moment to your phone calls. Amazing. And don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, and share the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, folks. We really appreciate it. We are at war. It is a spiritual battle for the soul of America. And it's going to take all of us to do it.